Is your relationship a roller coaster of highs and lows? When you first met your partner, did they seem like someone right out of a fairy tale? Your Prince Charming, or maybe your Princess Charming? Have you tried to leave your relationship, but keep finding yourself lured back in by the irresistible charms of your partner? If you answered yes to these questions, I am really glad that you are here because today I am talking about love bombing. Love bombing is one of the favorite tricks that narcissists use to entice and entrap their partners into the abuse cycle. Learning about love bombing will help you understand this tactic so that you can get on the path to break free from narcissistic abuse. Learning about love bombing will also help you to avoid falling for the charm of a narcissist when you know and understand what to look for. My experience with this is firsthand, and I know how hard it is to leave a narcissist and to resist their charms. I've broken free, and I'm here to help you do the same. Hi, I'm Christine. I'm an intuitive energy healer, an empath, and an empath coach. I'm based in Seattle, and I work with people both in person and virtually. I'm really passionate about helping other people understand love bombing because, as I mentioned, I know from personal experience how dangerous and damaging it can be. So it's my hope that you can benefit from what I have to share. Love bombing is tricky for two main reasons. Number one, it is very difficult to resist. And number two, it can threaten your recovery from abuse. So in this video, I'm going to cover everything that I think you need to know about love bombing, what love bombing is, the times when love bombing typically occurs, some examples of what love bombing looks like, why love bombing is dangerous, and how to spot love bombing. If you find what I'm sharing with you today resonates and you'd like to take what you learn further, I do have two additional free resources available for you. I have a free ebook, which is entitled 3 Surprising Signs That You're in a Relationship with a Narcissist, and the number one thing that you can do to regain your personal power. If you'd like to get your free copy, visit empoweredempath.us and you can opt in with your name and email and have access to your own ebook. The second free resource that I offer is an empath clarity call. This is a free call with me where we will meet and assess in depth if your relationship might be with a narcissist. And then we'll unpack the next steps that you can take to break free so that you can find clarity and reconnect with your joy. If you're interested in a free empath clarity call, visit my website at healingcollective.us and hit the schedule appointment button and look for the empath clarity call. That's healingcollective.us. So let's get into love bombing. What is love bombing? Love bombing is a manipulative tactic that is designed to trick someone into feeling like they are receiving love. Love bombing can look like a lot of different things. It might look like an abundance of gifts. It might look like kindness. It might look like connection, affection, or even help. The thing is, when you are being love bombed, it really feels like love, but it is not love because love bombing is done on purpose and it's done with malicious intentions. Love bombing is used by manipulators to entice someone to fall in love with them. You have something that the manipulator wants, and the manipulator will use love bombing as a way to get access to the thing that they want from you. So they throw all this false love at you. They bomb you with it. They're just like one thing after another, in order to get you to fall in love with them so that they can then get whatever it is that they really want from you, which is not love, it's something else. So love bombing occurs at two two main places in a relationship. Firstly, it occurs at the start of the relationship. And secondly, it occurs after a discard. So what do I mean by discard? Discard, I mean it in a very broad sense of when you have been apart from the, in this case, I'm going to say narcissistic abuser. When you've been apart from the narcissist or the narcissistic abuser for a period of time, a lot of times they'll come back and try and win you back, whether you left them or they left you. They'll come back after this discard, this time apart. So I want to share a few examples with you to illustrate what love bombing looks like at the start of a relationship, what it looks like after a discard, and also to explain to you and illustrate to you why it's so difficult to resist and why it can be so damaging. So in my first example, I want to focus on how difficult love bombing can be to resist. And I'll also focus on what love bombing can look like from a narcissist at the beginning of a relationship. If you've ever seen this show or movie, pardon me, the movie called Dirty John, this is based on a real life story of a relationship between a woman named Deborah and a narcissist named John. So it's pretty difficult to watch if you are in a narcissistic abusive relationship, but it's also very eye-opening and helpful when you are starting to learn and understand what narcissistic abuse is. So in this movie, Dirty John, John was a narcissist and he was very, very masterful at love bombing. And he approached Deborah through an online dating app. And she was really intrigued by him because he seemed kind and intelligent and thoughtful. He said a lot of great things and spoke about his time in the military. He spoke about his charity work. And he was very attentive to her and seemed to have excellent manners. So she was really quite intrigued by him because he had all of these things that she was looking for in a man. And he also happened to be a successful doctor. So that was definitely a point in her yes column. And they began dating. And Deborah found John very generous, very chivalrous. He brought her flowers. He held doors open for her. He had lots of fascinating stories, and he was just really fun to be around and just seemed to really be attentive to her every need. And the relationship quickly progressed from dating to living together. John made her smoothies every morning when they moved in together. He picked up her dry cleaning for her on the way to the hospital. He was loving, he was attentive. There were never any disagreements. He was always in agreement with her. He just looked for her every wish and desire, and he proactively fulfilled those. And so he was basically, to her mind, he was everything she had ever wanted in a partner. He swept her off her feet, just like in the movies, just like in the fairy tales. He was like a knight in shining armor. And that is what Deborah had always wanted. And she was smitten. He seemed almost too good to be true. And the fact of the matter is, he was too good to be true. John was love bombing Deborah. All of those great things I just shared with you that he did at the beginning of the relationship, they were all an act. Everything that he did to win her over was just that. It was done specifically as a tactic to win her over. He didn't want to be making smoothies with her. He didn't want to be opening doors for her. He did not want to be thoughtful and attentive towards her. He wasn't a kind person. He wasn't a charitable person doing charity work. In fact, he wasn't even a doctor. He made up all of those things. He made up that persona. He created those actions and those loving words and those kindnesses and those gifts of service to her because it was calculated to get her to fall in love with him. He wanted to make himself irresistible to her so that she would have no choice but to fall in love with her. And that is what he did. After the truth came to light and he became the opposite of this love bombing person and she saw his true colors, in hindsight, she was able to see that his initial affections were all a love bombing act. Every single thing was created and made up. And once that she saw the monster side of him, it became clear that every single bit of the way that he presented himself in the beginning was a manipulation. It was a love bomb. And once John had what he wanted from her, which in this case was Deborah's money, he stopped all the love bombing. He stopped being charming. He no longer ran her errands. He no longer brought her flowers. He was no longer kind and loving towards her. And because all of that, because he got what he wanted and he had utilized the love bombing to make her fall in love with him. And he no longer needed to do the love bombing. So a narcissist can be very, very skilled at love bombing. They have an uncanny kind of ability to understand what it is that their particular target would want to have in order to fall in love with someone. And so they make themselves irresistible. And that's what John did in this case. He made himself irresistible to Deborah through the love bombing, and she fell for it. So the second example I want to share with you is hits on 2 points. It's going to show you what love bombing can look like when it is in the later stages of a relationship after a discard has occurred. So in other words, after the narcissist has revealed their true nature and there's been a break in the relationship. The other point that I'd like to demonstrate to you through this example is that love bombing can really threaten your recovery from the abuse cycle. So let's get into the example, and then we'll talk a little bit more about what I mean. So in the story that I shared about how John love bombed Deborah, we were seeing an example of how the narcissists use love bombing techniques to ensnare a new target or a new victim. It's really common for a narcissist to use love bombing when they meet somebody new who they feel will make a great target for them. There's a second time when the narcissists use love bombing techniques, and this is after they've discarded you or after you have left them. You've been apart for a period of time, and the narcissist wants you back. They will love bomb you in order to get you back. There's a really interesting statistic that when people are looking to break free from a narcissistic abusive relationship, it takes an average of 7 times for the person to finally, fully and truly break free from that relationship. And I want to share with you some examples of one case where the person was love bombed repeatedly every time that the relationship ended or there was a discard. So in this particular relationship, the narcissist, as many narcissists do, began cheating on their partner, and that led to the demise of the relationship. However, a short while after the relationship broke apart, The narcissist inserted themselves into their ex-partner's lives, just showing up unannounced one day with flowers and turning their charm on full blast. Even though the relationship had ended, the narcissist decided that they wanted to make a play at getting back in with their partner. And so they turned on their full charm and brought this gift of flowers in order to try and make an opening to work their way back into connecting with that partner. So this was a love bombing. Again, in this same case study, there was another breakup that happened after the first breakup. And this is not uncommon in relationships with narcissistic abusers where there's multiple breakups. And in this case, after the second breakup, the narcissistic abuser decided they wanted to try and come back and open that door again with their ex-partner. And in this case, what the narcissist did was something that they had never done before in the relationship. They offered to help with some big projects that this person had going on in their life. That was their type of love bombing. You could look at it as an act of service, something they'd never done before, but called up and said, hey, I'm willing to help you with this big project that's a lot of work for you, and I know my help would be helpful for you. So that is another way that love bombing can show up. And it was done specifically for the purpose of trying to get back in and reconnect with that person. Also, in this same case study, this same relationship, there was a third breakup. And after this breakup and some time apart, the narcissist again reached out to their ex-partner, trying to reconnect and open that door. And this time, their tactic for love bombing was they reached out with an email and started reminiscing about all of the good times of the past and speaking of some good memories and the fun that was had between the two at a point in time. This is another form of love bombing where the narcissistic abuser is calling on those good memories in order to bring up positive feelings within their ex-partner. And they're trying to capitalize on those good times, hoping that their ex-partner will remember all of the bad times and just really think fondly on the good times and hopefully open the door to let that narcissistic abuser back in. When you're love bombed after a breakup with a narcissistic abuser, it's a really dangerous time. It really can threaten your ability to break free from the cycle of narcissistic abuse because we need time to be alone and away from the narcissistic abuser in order to really process and heal and do the deep inner healing work that's necessary to break free from the whole cycle of narcissistic abuse. So if you're broken up with a narcissist and they reach out and they love bomb you, I want to urge you to be really careful and be aware of what they're doing and be aware of what their purpose is. Why are they love bombing you? Why was this person, showing up with flowers and turning on the charm, and then again, turning on the charm and offering to help and be really helpful when they never had before? Or why are they reaching out, reminiscing about the good old days? They want something from you, just as they wanted something from you when they first met you and they first love bombed you and tricked you into connecting with you. Love bombing after a discard is for the same purpose. There's something they want from you. They're not love bombing you because they love you. They're not showing up with flowers, offering to help out, and reminiscing about the good days because they love you. They want something from you. And each time the narcissist is allowed back into their partner's life, the thing is, the trauma bond between you strengthens and your trauma bond strengthens. And this makes it much harder for you to break free. Also, when the narcissist sees that their love bombing tactic is successful, they're going to continue to use this love bombing in the future each time that they want to lure you back. The love bombing is a really powerful part of the abuse cycle. It's the sweetness that occasionally occurs in a vast sea of abuse and mistreatment. It functions to keep you hooked on the abuser like a drug. In these examples, we saw how love bombing happens at the start of a relationship as well as after a discard. The love bombing at the start is designed to trick designed to trick the target into a relationship. The narcissist manipulates the target in order to induce feelings of love. The love bombing after a discard is designed to lure the target back for more abuse. And narcissists, they are so skilled at understanding what your deepest needs and fears and desires are. And they're going to use this understanding to create love bombing that is tailored to you. It might be gifts, attention, affection. It might be charm. It might be romance or seduction. Whatever it is, it's going to feel irresistible. Now that we've seen a little bit about what love bombing looks like in action, I want to share with you some things that you can do in order to spot love bombing. So I'm going to focus on love bombing from two different angles. Love bombing when you're meeting someone new, and love bombing in your current relationship. So these are things that you can look out for that are signs of potential love bombing. So when you're meeting someone new, watch out if they seem to be everything that you've ever dreamed of. They're like a 100% perfect match. There's absolutely nothing wrong. They're like this fairy tale match for you. That's a red flag for sure. Another one is if you are constantly showered with whatever it is you most desire from a partner, whether it's love, attention, affection, gifts. If it is just constantly coming at you in the beginning of the relationship, that's another time that you want to just take note and watch out for. If things seem to be too good to be true, they might be too good to be true. And lastly, if things move quickly, too quickly, much more quickly than normal in the relationship, that's another sign of possible love bombing. So if you're experiencing any one of these things, people being too good to be true, 100% perfect match for you, constant showering with love, attention, affection, or gifts, and things moving quickly in a relationship, this is what you should do if you're experiencing those things. I recommend 3 things. Number 1, use discernment. Number 2, listen to your intuition. And number 3, use caution before making any serious commitments too quickly. The second area I'm going to talk about with love bombing and what to look for is love bombing in your current relationship. So this is what signs you can look for to see if there's love bombing happening in your current relationship. So if you're involved with a narcissist, love bombing is typically going to happen after the narcissist has discarded you and then wants you back. Or perhaps you've left them and they want you back. So what they're going to do is they're going to amp up the charm, but it's going to be just long enough to lure you back in. They're going to give you, I think of it as like a micro glimpse of the person they were at the start of your relationship. So that 100% perfect match mate, that fairy tale mate that you saw when you first met them, that's what they use to pull you into the relationship. When they're love bombing you later on in the relationship, you're going to get a little micro glimpse of the person that they were at the start of the relationship. So if you're sensing and feeling that, probably it's going to feel like relief to you, but I want you to be careful because that sounds like a love bomb. The love bombing can feel really, really good to you because it's such a contrast to the abuse and the mistreatment that you're accustomed to experiencing from your partner. So just watch out for that sudden burst of love and charm because it is a trick. It is a manipulation. The narcissist, they're fishing. The love bombing is, you can think of it as the bait that they're using on their fish hook, and you are the fish that they are trying to catch with their love bombing baits. So proceed with caution. So I'm really glad that you joined today and learned something that might help you or help someone that you know who's involved in a narcissistic abusive relationship. We talked about love bombing and how it shows up at the start of relationships as well as after discards. We talked about how love bombing is used to lure people into relationships as well as keep them stuck in the relationship. Love bombing is really one of the most powerful manipulative tactics that the narcissist has. We also talked about how you can spot love bombing both at the start of a relationship and during a relationship. I hope this has been helpful for you. If you'd like to learn more, I invite you to receive my free ebook. It's entitled 3 Surprising Signs You're in a Relationship with a Narcissist and the #1 thing you can do to regain your personal power. It's available by going to empoweredempath.us. I also have another free resource. It's a free empath clarity call, and that's a call with me where we will meet and assess in depth if your relationship might be with a narcissist and unpack the next steps so that you can break free and find clarity and reconnect with your joy. If you're interested in signing up for your empath clarity call, visit my website at healingcollective.us and click on the schedule appointment button, looking for the free empath clarity call option. Thank you so much for joining me today.